Good morning. If you're with us Sunday morning on Facebook Live or any of our other streaming platforms, if you're watching a recording of this service at any time or day, greetings. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. I'm Amy Lander, and I also have Everett with me later as well. Thank you for joining us today. Here are a few highlights for the week, but please refer to your newsletter that came to your inbox on Friday morning. Please join us for Fellowship on the Green, Tuesdays at 11:30. Please continue to follow social distancing guidelines. Go to uutc.org and click on Calendar for more details. Also, you will see a memo from Susan Zelli collecting ideas on how safe it will be to meet again in person. Her email is provided there for you. Thank you for joining us in this sacred place during these troubled times, from the safety of our homes in a community consecrated by our presence and our commitment. We are a welcoming and exclusive congregation. We invite your participation and welcome you, whoever you are, without regard to your race, color, your age, your sex, gender, orientation, politics, or abilities. We require no creed or particular religious belief, asking that you bring your goodwill and an open heart. Our mission is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. To any guests or newcomers we have watching with us today, thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to find us online and join us for worship. And to our members and friends, please use the chat to commune with each other, to reconnect as a UUTC family, and to express your appreciation. Our call to worship is I Believe, presented by Janice Cannon and Elaine Shaver. Please relax and let the music lead you into the spirit of this worship service. Our opening words are from the Reverend Leslie Ahuva Fales. She is the pastor of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Fairbanks, Alaska, and has also served as a hospital chaplain. She notes this includes a sentence that is an adaptation of a Hebrew prayer called the Shehehe Anu. In Leslie's words, it's a blessing for any time you do something you haven't done in a long time, or something that you're doing for the first time, or when doing annual events that you should feel blessed for having lived to see come around the wheel of the year again, or for when you survive a close call, or when you are about to do something adventurous. All that we have been separately and all that we will become together is stretched out before and behind us like stars scattered across a canvas of sky. We stand at the precipice, arms locked, together like tandem skydivers, working up the courage to jump. Tell me, friends, what have we got to lose? Our fear of failure? Our mistrust of our own talents? What have we got to lose? A poverty of the spirit? The lie that we are alone? What wonders await us in the space between the first leap and the moment our feet, our wheels, however we move our bodies across this precious earth, touch down softly on unknown soil? What have we got to lose that we can't replace with some previously unimaginable joy? Blessed are you, Spirit of life, who has sustained us, enlivened us, and enabled us to reach this moment. Give us courage in our leaping and gratitude in our landing. Come, let us worship together. Are we ready? Okay. We will now light our chalice, and then I will read the words of Scott Taylor, the organizer of the National Soul Matters Sharing Circle. We light this chalice in honor of first steps, for beginning even when the path ahead is unclear, for the courage it takes to trust that the way will reveal itself, that the light will come to clarify our vision, that friends will be by our side. May the words, song, stillness, and common breath of this hour remind us that every step of the way is never one that we will take alone. Please join us in our first hymn of the morning, number 123, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Now comes the time in our service when we have the chance to share our joys and sorrows. We believe that joys are magnified, worries reduced, and grief eased by sharing them with this beloved community. I invite those who are watching on this Sunday morning to participate by typing any joys and sorrows you would like to share in the comments of the streaming platform that you are using right now. I won't see them, but will include a candle for them at the end. I light a candle for both those whom we see and those we may not see, but whose work allows us to live our lives easier and safer. Those on our front lines who provide healthcare, essential services, and education. May this light bring comfort to those who serve. I light a candle of gratitude. I light a candle of gratitude for those who worked tirelessly to research and administer vaccines. Their efforts and commitment bring new hope, a gift we have not been offered after the past year of fear. May this light bring honor to those who serve at each step of the vaccine chain. I light a candle of gratitude for those who have committed themselves to stand on the side of justice. Speaking out and taking action to bring recognition to those whose rights are denied. May this light bring courage to those who speak up. I light a candle for those prayers lifted up in the chat box by those at home. We hold them in our hearts. A light is burning here, even as we cannot be with each other. And finally, I light a candle for any care or any hope that you are not yet ready to share. May this light, kindled by all of our hearts, be a torch you can carry forward, knowing that we hold you in our hearts. Let us hold these lights and prayers in our hearts as we listen to music by Julie Berger.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return again. return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Our prayer this morning is grounded in the words of my colleague Lynn Cox. Please center yourselves and enter into this time of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, ever adapting and renewing, we come together this morning with yearnings that do not match. We yearn for stability, for even one moment of feeling like we know what is going on, for the ability to predict and to prepare for what is coming next. Yet we also yearn for change. We ache for a world that turns aside from racism, violence, dehumanization, and disregard for suffering. We pray for a change in the illness, grief, isolation, incarceration, and vulnerability of our loved ones. We reach for the connections that will remind us that we are worthy as we are. And we reach to see in what ways will help us become our best selves. Hold us in the heart of both and. Cradle us in the mystery. Cherish us in the eternal presence of love. And encourage us on the path of growth and development. As individuals and as a people, help us to become who we are called to be. Lead us into open pathways to deeper wisdom through reconciliation, self-respect, and mutual respect. Compassion, owning and making amends for our mistakes. Source of wonder, move us to express and live in gratitude for the beauty of this world, the loving people in our lives, and this day of possibility. To this, we add the meditations of our hearts as we enter into a brief moment of silence. Blessed be. Amen. The reading that I've chosen this morning is from one of my favorite authors and guides, Parker Palmer. This particular quote is from his book, Let Your Life Speak. Today, I understand vocation quite differently, not as a goal to be achieved, but as a gift to be received. Discovering vocation does not mean scrambling toward some prize just beyond my reach, but accepting the treasure of true self I already possess. Vocation doesn't come from a voice out there calling me to become something that I am not. It comes from a voice in here calling me to be the person I was born to be, to fulfill the original selfhood given me at birth by God. It's a strange gift, this birthright gift of self. Accepting it turns out to be even more demanding than attempting to become someone else. I have sometimes responded to that demand by ignoring the gift, or hiding it, or fleeing from it, or squandering it. And I think I am not alone. There is a Hasidic tale that reveals with amazing brevity both the universal tendency to want to be someone else and the ultimate importance of becoming one's self. Rabbi Zusya, when he was an old man, said, "In the coming world, they will not ask me, 'Why were you not Moses?' They will ask me, 'Why were you not Zusya?'" If you doubt that we all arrive in this world with gifts and as a gift, pay attention to an infant or a very young child. Children do not show up as raw material to be shaped into whatever image of the world might want them to take. My granddaughter, for example, arrived with her own gifted form with the shape of her own sacred soul. Biblical faith calls it the image of God in which we are created. Thomas Merton calls it true self. Quakers call it the inner light, or that of God in every person. The humanist tradition calls it identity and integrity. No matter what you call it, it is a pearl of great price. In those early days of my granddaughter's life, I began observing the inclinations and proclivities that were planted in her at birth. I noticed, and I still notice, what she likes and dislikes, what she is drawn toward and repelled by, how she moves, what she does, what she says. I'm gathering my observations in a letter. When my granddaughter reaches her late teens or early 20s, I'll make sure that my letter finds its way to her with a preface something like this. Here is a sketch of who you were from your earliest days in the world. It's not a definitive picture, only you can draw that. But it was sketched by a person who loves you very much. Perhaps these notes will help you do sooner something that I, as your grandfather, did only later. Remember who you were when you first arrived and reclaim the gift of true self. We arrive in this world with birthright gifts. Then we spend the first half of our lives abandoning them or letting others disabuse us of them. As young people, we're often surrounded by expectations that may have little to do with who we really are, expectations held by people who are not trying to discern our selfhood, but rather to fit us into slots. In families, schools, workplaces, and religious communities, we're trained away from the true self towards images of acceptability. Under social pressures like racism and sexism, our original self is deformed beyond recognition. And we ourselves, driven by fear, too often betray true self to gain the approval of others. We're disabused of the original giftedness in the first half of our lives. Then, if we're awake, aware, and able to admit our loss, we spend the second half trying to recover them and reclaim the gift that we once possessed. Welcome to this sermon on We Are a Community of Becoming. And I want to say thank you for bearing with me as I held so many of Parker Palmer's words in the reading. Both Parker Palmer and a retreat I attended on coming back to true self, knowing myself through seasons of the self, reclaiming images of myself. I have come to treat each word as something special to be meditated on. I hope that you might go and look him up online too. Maybe you have some of Parker Palmer's words of wisdoms. So I come to this sermon both as somebody who was raised as a Unitarian Universalist from elementary school years on upward, then theological school, finding even more to discern about myself. In some ways, having experiences which made me dive deep in ways that not many others have that opportunity. But I acknowledge that each of us watching has somehow found our ways to Unitarian Universalism, in part because of its promise as a community, as a place, which says our lives are respected, our inherent worth and dignity, our chance to become part of a community in which, wow, people are letting me be me. Some of the most powerful stories of our lives are finding our way to communities in which we can, in fact, find our true selves. It's interesting. I am very much pro signing people up for Unitarian Universalism, but one of the most, humbling and proud moments as a minister was when a woman who had been with the congregation for 7 years of my ministry came to me and said, when I came to this Unitarian Universalist congregation and listened to your first sermons about learning about all the religions and finding so many paths leading to truth, I needed that. I needed a chance to heal from a deeply wounded place I had been in. I needed to grieve the end of a portion of my life that had gone away without my control, and I needed to find who I was and where I wanted to be. I came here seeking refuge from my original religion. And yet, in these 7 years, being a part of this loving community, I have been nurtured back into the self who values that original religion. Not the way it was confined and taught to me in narrow ways, but I'm going back to my original religion now, completely revitalized, refreshed, and able to come to it as an adult, not as the childhood teachings I saw, but as an adult coming back to re-embrace that religion. Knowing who I am now, knowing myself and my gifts. And Reverend Bob, I thank you and this wonderful UU congregation for giving me that 7 years of rediscovery, renewal, and the chance to reacquaint myself with who I am and what I value. I very much missed this wonderful, active, loving, and committed member in our midst. But I tell this story of saying that we are indeed, in Unitarian Universalism, a whole community of becoming. We are the place where people reacquaint themselves. If you're lucky enough to have been raised in a circle of love in your families of origins or now your chosen family, if you have been able to be raised in a way that shows what we do here to be of something of unique value, this is one of those stories that reminds us we must be that for each person who comes here. We may not be the ultimate long-term place for everyone, because at some point, some of us may have said, I like that, but now I know myself better. And we must be that place of permission. No shame, but celebration that we were a resting place, a place of becoming and growth. It's interesting. The way Parker Palmer talks about it is that we could be raised in communities that put us in boxes, tell us we can only be one thing or another, or never telling us the great diversity of knowing who we are. And yet I know, as someone who was raised in this religion, that as being a community of becoming, of taking that ministry seriously, every bit in which we are doing outreach to families in Transylvania County, somehow allowing folks to find their way here when they're struggling with the questions, how do I raise my child morally, ethically, with some understanding of the many explorations of religion out there. We need to be known out there. When's the last time we've advertised in some way? Or when is it you, as maybe you are like Parker Palmer thinking of a grandchild, when are you talking to your neighbors, your children's friends, about how this place is really a helpful place for those being raised into knowing who they are? It's amazing, growing up myself, to know that at some point in time I could see the hypocrisy of the people that I grew up with, the adults around me who would claim that they were open-minded, and yet, as Unitarian Universalists showed, they weren't quite there yet. It was great being a teen in this religion because I could rebel against the hypocrisy I saw even among the Unitarian Universalist adults around me. And I knew I was being taught to be my own self. I did not have to be the people whose example were in front of me, but I could learn the best of the way they were struggling to rebuild their lives, maybe walking away from experiences in whatever religion they were raised in, to really find what worked for them. I've loved it when, as a community of becoming, our congregation opened its doors to a group that called themselves the non-believers, an outside group that would rent our facility. I was proud that we opened up to a non-Roman Catholic priest to hold on Saturday evenings a mass for those who found that they could not jibe with what the Roman Catholic Church was saying about the box they had to stay in. I loved it when we had the opportunity for a Buddhist meditation group. And I love it when our own children are learning a way into expressing who they are as they become themselves. And maybe being evangelists for diversity in whether they are out in their schools or among others. It makes a difference in this world. So Albert Schweitzer said something similar to what Parker Palmer said. Albert Schweitzer said, "The path of awakening is not about becoming who you are. Rather, it's about unbecoming who you are not." Sometimes this may mean a way in which you talk it out with others. Have extended coffee hours here. Reflect on messages and wrestle. I don't think I'm that. I think I'm really something else. Sometimes it means writing down what you once thought and confront the reality of who you are. The Soul Matters packet has an exercise this month which suggests that we do some of the writing of what we reflect on in a 6-word mini story. This is tough, folks. 6-word mini story. We'll have a discussion on after the service at the last Sunday of this month, and maybe people will come sit around the circle or be on Zoom. We'll do it hybrid and talk about whether they did that 6-word exercise. But here are some examples that I liked from the packet to get our brains stimulated. Some of them make me smile, and some of them are just warming me to writing my own. The psychic said I'd be richer. How's that for a life story? Wasn't born a redhead. Fixed that. Mom was earthy. Now I'm green. 60. Still afraid of the dark. Forged through fire. Sustained by friendships. Life's GPS keeps saying, recalculating, recalculating. The last one here. The exits were entrances in disguise. How we become real is what I'm trying to say here. Capturing a bit of our memories, recapturing something. I don't know if you had a grandparent or are one of those grandparents who reflects in a way to your grandchild, wow, I just noticed this. In a way that helps a young person know that they are loved, in some way seen, in some way valued. This is where we train you if you're not quite used to doing that yet. This is where we give you the opportunity to sign up to volunteer after COVID to help guide, mentor. Or sign up and do it with fellow adults. This is that place where you can be part of the becoming process. One of my favorite children's stories, and one that I referred to during the ordination of a friend of mine, is the Velveteen Rabbit. The Velveteen Rabbit, the book by Marjorie Williams Bianco, has a dialogue in it that says this: "Real isn't how you're made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time." Now, of course, that story is talking about a stuffed animal that becomes a comrade in life. Somebody loved and real in the eyes of a child. Human beings aren't like that. We come with some bundle of who we are, and we scream out into the world, and we have a hard time communicating it, but somehow in our lives there are glances from people who love us, who hold us, who help us become real. That image is one of ministry. How often have you done that ministry with someone else? Someone who feels like nothing but stuffing, but becomes, through the reflection in your eyes, a valued companion. Real. We need our chosen communities, and we need the people who will love us into seeing ourselves as real, not empty. It may be that we mistake those chosen communities from time to time as being us, like walking into a Unitarian Universalist congregation for the first time, and at the end greeting your minister and saying, "This is so wonderful. Everyone is just like me." Well, we don't all think alike here. We are not all like each other. Sometimes I want our new members to be disillusioned, because in that moment they realize I am me, and I am surrounded by others who are not me. And yet, I can become me here, and sometimes that means speaking up for how I am not, how others project onto me. But I still love that image. And I, as a minister, have been made time and again by the congregations I've been in. That relationship, congregation to minister, is a relationship of becoming as well. And I have appreciated that. True self is a true friend, Parker Palmer said. One ignores or rejects such friendship only at one's peril. This is the next step in becoming. Not just the people around you loving you and recognizing yourself, but you too. True self is a true friend. Every time you recognize that true friend popping up in your life, don't ignore your friend. Deepen that friendship. Be vulnerable. Be open. Allow that true self to walk with you through the hardest times, through the joyous times, and to guide you when you're at a fork in a road as to which way your true friend is saying, hey, maybe try this path. That looks like fun. As the Martin Buber story said in our reading of the story of the great Hasidic Rabbi Zusia of Hanipol, it's not crying out loud, oh, why wasn't I Moses? Why am I not Abraham? It's heaven will judge you favorably for being fully yourself. Please, accept yourself as a gift to this world. You be you is what it really means. And if you haven't found you yet, maybe picking up the Soul Matters packet will help. I'll make sure to send you one if you ask, if you haven't already received it at the first of the month. Maybe it's going back through some story of your life and reclaiming yourself. As Parker Palmer said, I'll use this to end my sermon. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you've decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody, what values you represent. And may you find this a loving community of becoming and a place that supports you in your life project. Your best friend will thank you. I hold up the collection basket once again to remind us that though we can't be here to slip something in, we always have the opportunity online through the mail to, well, give something of our treasure. And yes, we've had a work party where people have given their talent and time. We've had so many folks who have stood before us to light the candles and the chalices, or give a reading that's recorded to be told to us in our weekly newsletter as we click through. And we get the money, the treasure of our hard-earned earnings, something of a sacrifice, perhaps, given in love. And I say, for all that's given in love, we say thank you and receive it with great joy. Now, in the spirit of the message of becoming and being a community of becoming, putting it into song and words, being open to one another and listening Please join me now in singing our closing hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. The words will be on your screen. As our two worship associates help to come forward again and extinguish the chalice, let's remember to have its light carry with us. And the helper candle as it's extinguished too. Let's remember that we must be a community of becoming. But this is a tough thing to live. As Linus complained in a Peanuts cartoon from long ago, there's no heavier burden than a great potential. But may you carry the light with you, energized by this community of becoming, to be truly yourself in this world. Not Zeusia, not Moses, not anyone else. Be you. May you go forth in love and return again to this community of love and becoming.